did some interviewing, but I thought I started a book now, and I'm just getting the voice of people
Oh yeah.
that, to sort of see what is America thinking about what's going on. Did you watch the debates last night?
No, we don't care, but I've been reviewing a lot of it throughout the day, a lot of the coverage of it. I wasn't greatly surprised by most of what I've heard because you kind of know what the lead-in is, but the scope of the, I say, I don't want to say dishonesty, but the scope of the variance from the truth was a little striking,
Yeah.
more than I anticipated. But as I said, not too many surprises other than that, really. I did expect, I think, a stronger performance from Obama, but I'm not really disappointed because he's in the bad spot that if he comes on too strong, he's going to get, he'll be criticized for that in the same way that Gore was, I think, for being too aggressive
Yeah.
in his debating.
The story that I'm hearing across America is that people are disenchanted with the whole system.
Yes.
They think it's broken, and so do you think so too? Do you think we have a
Absolutely.
shot at some kind of reform? And I don't know what that looks like right now. I have my own opinion of what we should do.
Yeah, just as I was coming up here, I had NPR on, in fact, and they were talking about the amount of money that some super PAC is going to put into Wisconsin on behalf of the GOP. And I mean, that's the beginning and the end of the problem, it seems to me, that just you open the floodgates and just limitless cash pours in.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like I'm more thoroughly represented for the millions
Right.
of dollars coming into it.
This is what I'm saying. If we got the money out, we might have a shot at
Yeah.
people looking out for people.
Right.
But how does Mitt Romney and even Obama, when they have so much money that they
They're
don't
both
have to
beholden to
struggle?
the system, absolutely. I was encouraged by Nancy Pelosi saying, I think last week, that if we should by chance, Democrats should by chance take the House and Senate, then they would work immediately to repeal Citizens United.
That would be a good thing.
Yeah, I think that would be a good step in the right
Yeah,
direction.
we need to get the money out. I'd like to see it out completely.
Yeah,
I'd like to
I'd
see
be
a
for public
publicly
funding,
funded
yeah, I agree.
election. Do you think?
Yeah.
And then why can't we get regular people to run? Why do they have to be so wealthy, rich to
Well,
run?
the thing that's puzzled me for years in that is whenever, honestly, there's a Republican in the White House and they run up the deficit and they say deficits don't matter, they always say that you can't run the nation's budget like you run a business or a household. But they never hire anybody for the Treasury except businessmen. So like on one hand they're saying, oh, business budgeting doesn't matter, and then who do they hire? The people who they're saying don't matter. So that's baffled me for years because it's a directly contradictory strategy based on what they're saying.
What I think? I think we should get all the grandmas in office.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah.
The nurses, the caregivers. We'd end a war,
Mm-hmm.
right? We'd get the money out of politics, and the bribery would stop. I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not talking about people, that we've been accustomed to in the women in politics. I'm talking about the people that wouldn't normally run should get
Right.
involved.
Yeah, I had in the same way, obviously, as the direct money contributions. As anybody else, I've had a distaste for lobbyists for years. Also, in college, one of my roommates had worked in Washington, and she said everything you've heard about lobbyists is true, and worse. Like just the naked dishonesty and purchasing of favors. She said it was shocking to her, and it was. She herself was quite to the left, so it was a real eye-opening thing for her to see how bad and how entrenched it is. Though she did say, an amusing aside, she said, of all the people she talked to, the most polite and considerate and seemingly genuine was Oliver North. Do you believe that?
Wow.
Yeah, so that either says something about him or says something about the other people she talked to.
And who just came out? One of the lobbyists that's revealing all the secrets of what they did. The guy that went to jail. What the heck's his name? Anyway.
Abeloff?
Yes.
Yeah, really? I didn't hear
Aroff,
much
he's
about it
out.
lately.
No, and he's writing a book. Well, big shock.
Yeah.
But, and he goes on to talk about how they get around the system.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they take, bribes, because it is a bribe. I don't care how you slice it.
Yeah, they call it a contribution, or
Yeah.
it's the revolving door thing too. There's a couple of sort of half-hearted attempts to put a time limit on when you can work. When you can hold office, and then when you can lobby, like 2 or 6 or whatever years
Yeah.
it is. And I think that would help because like I've worked jobs that if you've worked at one fast food place, they won't hire you at the next one within and that's fast food. That's
Because you know the secrets.
right, exactly. So or they don't trust.
But
you
it's
that you're
okay
not-
in government.
Exactly. In fact, it's encouraged and certainly rewarded handsomely.
Yes. Oh my God, we are sick as a society. We don't hold our people accountable.
Yeah.
We give really great pensions.
Mm-hmm.
Serve a term, get paid for life. How many jobs do you know that you could do that?
Oh, right. Yeah. I heard, and I wish I could remember who it was. It was somebody who tried to live on food stamps for a month.
God.
a governor or maybe just a mayor, and like immediately expressed how difficult it was, and it wasn't even like he wasn't trying to feed a family of four. It was just for himself to experience it, and of course the admirable in its intent, but right away you have to think, well, there are people who are doing that who can't just stop next month,
Right.
and who don't have the benefit of, like this guy wasn't living in debt and wasn't worried about his electric being shut off.
Right.
So he although he made the effort to understand the aspect of buying food, he had no concept of the actual reality of it. And there again, some billionaire contributing to Romney's campaign isn't going to resolve that at any levels.
No. We need to get the money out, and we need to get it out quickly. And I don't know what people are going to do across the nation. I heard people are not going to vote because they're fed up, and that's discouraging. But yet I understand it. I get it.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. It's like,
Well, there's a principled decision not to vote, I think, and then there's kind of an apathetic, and I don't mean apathetic in like I'm just overwhelmed, I don't care anymore. I mean just like
Right.
I can't be bothered.
yeah.
And I take issue with that, but
But what if we all took our vote and did something special with it? Would that send a message?
it'd be hard to coordinate, but I think it would. Yeah, if we could, whatever that would be. I mean,
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
I know. I don't know what that would be either, but I'm thinking if we're going to waste a vote, you know what?
let's all waste it together.
Yeah.
Yeah. They would. I suspect, in my cynicism, that they would declare there had been some massive fraud, or something like that, or the Supreme Court would rule, whatever.
Yeah.
We've seen it before.
Yeah.
So,
Oh.
what to that end, what baffles me too. I mean, there's apathy, which is its own form of problem. But now you might not tell to look at me, but I'm not a millionaire, and I work a comfortable but not great job. Certainly, I'm not making $50,000 a year, and people are passionate against Obama for reasons that make no sense. Like they want to vote for Romney because he's for tax cuts, or whatever, and like it's like you're not making $250,000 here. What do you like?
I keep saying that to people, and I'm like, if you did have a small business, you could bring it down to under 250 by spending it and putting it back into the company.
Yeah, exactly right. Like reinvesting. That's kind of what the
I
incentive
know.
is. There's a book. I think it was. I don't know if it was during Bush's first or second election period, but it was "What's the Matter with Kansas," and talked about like the skill with which political parties get people to vote against their own interests. And Kansas was a signature example. Like in most need of help. I don't know if it was actually receiving the most dollars in help, but most passionately voting against public health. And so somehow they managed to create that discord between what people actually need and are using and benefit from versus what they vote for and think is good for.
Well, interesting enough, people are asking, where do they get information?
Mm-hmm.
They're confused because they know that some of the information they're getting is outright lies, but they don't know where to go to get the information.
Right.
And some of these are elderly people who watch the news. They're not covering me or the Occupy movement or what's going on. You know somebody in Pittsburgh, you said, who's occupying, who's
He
being
did
arrested?
Occupy. They did a thing. It was the Share Fair, they called it, and I'm not clear on all the details, but it essentially was just get together in some park in Pittsburgh. I don't know Pittsburgh that well, the downtown, and it wasn't a sale, it wasn't a swapping. It was just like if you want something, take it. It was just a bunch of people got out.
Totally free market.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I think they called the particular event the Share Fair, and they were shut down for like the police couldn't act quickly enough to shut them down without any real reason. They said it was like you need a permit for public assembly and all that, the same nonsense. And I don't think he went. I don't think he was charged for that one, but his peers were, and I think he tried to film it and was sort of warned against doing that. And it's
Isn't that odd that fighting for constitutional rights, which everybody should be entitled to, is now created this movement of a militarized state? Because
Yeah.
I've been to a lot of the bigger cities, and the police are like the military. They come out and they start beating up on people. They're nabbing people. I've seen it and heard people talking about people being picked out of crowds because they're organizers. And so I go, do they know what the message is? Are they paying attention to what the people want? Because if you did, you'd look at it and go, why are they beating up these people who are asking for free speech, the right to assemble,
right.
money out of government, the corruption out of government? And so what message are they sending?
And it's nonviolent protest. Fine, you get a few stragglers, and some I would have to say like agents provocateur. But
Yeah.
on the whole, these are people who are passionate about peace.
Right.
So the last thing they would do is instigate a riot.
Right.
So-
And I say, if one window got broken, what is it, $2,000? But yet we spend 20 grand on military to come out and protect what?
Right.
I haven't seen the violence other than the police themselves who come out. I don't get that.
That happened with no, not Occupy. I think it was with the WTO meeting in Pittsburgh. Like, it went on and on and on, and then somebody smashed a window, and that was the news. Like, not the fact that there were thousands of people, or however
Exactly.
it was. It was like, oh, they got a guy who broke a window. That's the story.
But you don't even know who broke the window. It
Right.
could be somebody, like you
Exactly.
say, who's been planted to create this.
That was the
because I
suspicion, in
haven't
fact.
seen it personally, and I've been to 130 cities, been touring since November 4th last year, so almost a year. And the only brutality I've seen are the police beating
Yeah.
up on people in Oakland, in New York, in Denver, in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the places where it's gotten out of hand.
Yeah, we've been fortunate in this area not to have that level of violence, but there's a lot of intimidation. And in fact, this was another good point. I don't want to refer to my friend by name because I don't want to pull, I don't want to
Yeah. Well, that's okay.
bring him in without speaking to him. But when he was down there, he just did a casual count and saw within easy range of the event 70 cameras, like between traffic cameras and exterior building cameras and all that. 70, and he's very conscious of, and lately I've become conscious of the surveillance state. And it all feeds into the same thing, like it's all for
Right.
control and suppression of dissent and the whole thing. And to what end? I mean, what are they protecting?
Exactly. What are you protecting? We, or they, should be protecting us to protect our rights.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not working
Right.
out that way, and it's very disappointing.
And the corollary to that is, and this isn't mine. This I heard. It was what's it called? It's a program I can only catch it like once a week. It's called Alternative Radio, and it's called that actually. And they run a talk every week on progressive and just socially conscious issues, and the one was on the surveillance state, and also the difficulty in like freedom of information and obtaining actual worthwhile material when you request it, and all the stalling techniques. But they said that the trend, of course since 9/11, but it's exploded even under Obama, which just disappoints me, is the government becomes more and more secretive, whereas people are required to be more and more transparent, which is the exact opposite of what's supposed to be.
Right.
And people have no privacy anymore, and the government has all the privacy at once,
Right.
whereas it should be the other way around. Like,
Right.
if the burden is on the person to justify their need for privacy, so-called, versus the government, which you have to justify the need for transparency, which is entirely, I'm sure that's not how the founders intended it. So
Yeah, I don't think so. But you're right. This is what's happening. I appreciate you taking the time to
that was my pleasure.
talk
I'm
to me.
so thrilled to see the RV here.
Oh, this is great. I know.
Where are
I've
you
had-
headed next? Actually,
Where
are you originally?
I'm from Seattle, Washington area,
Okay.
Gig Harbor. Went on the road last year. October 2nd, I was in Zuccotti Park. That's
Oh, yeah.
where it started for
Yeah.
me. Amazing. Saw all the people there. 700 people were arrested on the
Yeah.
bridge. I couldn't believe it.
Have you been arrested?
No.
Yeah.
Well,
Not good?
I did have a guy at Washington, D.C. shake his handcuffs at the door and say, "You better move, don't make me arrest you."
Really?
Yeah. I
Wow.
said, well, as far as I can see, I'm parked legally. But he wanted me to move, and he
Yeah.
wasn't. Yeah. So, and then at a Walmart, 7 of the managers came out, crossed the parking lot, and told me to get out.
Really?
Proceeded to call the
Wow.
police. So, 2 threats, but
Yeah.
usually I can get out before they.
Yeah, that's...
There's no benefit to me being arrested.
Yeah, he won't serve anything.
No,
yeah.
I would rather take this 31 feet of billboard and flash it around town
Right.
and
I think-
roll
yeah, I
through
think
the
that's a better
streets
mission
nice
for
and
you, right.
close. Just be
Yeah.
a pain in the ass.
And where are you bound from here? For
So we're going to New York,
Okay.
meeting up with Occupy Armed Forces.
Excellent.
And Captain Ray Lewis?
Yes.
He's the ex-Philly cop.
Yeah, yeah.
He's got an RV, just got it yesterday.
Great.
He's joining us, and we now have a caravan of 3. So if you know anybody that has a bus, a van, a minibus, or a car that wants to join in, they should come caravan
Can you
with
give me
us.
another of each of these? I'll give them to my buddy at work. Who,
I will totally.
so-
And let me
seems
get your
so-
name before we turn this off.
Sure. My name is Dave
Dave from
from Newcastle.
Newcastle. Thank you, Dave.